We are here to preview the NFC South. Some say this is the worst division in football. I cannot call that person a liar because it really feels that way. The AFC South is pretty rough. The NFC South might be the roughest, which is kind of hilarious if you think about it because the AFC South got Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, and the NFC South got Bryce Young, and C.J. Stroud went to the AFC South. So all the rookie quarterbacks are in the two worst divisions in football. That's just kind of ironic, I guess, that's how it shook out.
It really is.
But let's start with the worst team in this division, and weirdly enough, Josh picked it, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right. Well, you're going to have to give me just 1 second because
I should have probably told you that you had the worst division.
I thought I did too, which is the best part, but I didn't even think about sharing my screen because I love smashing the quick button, and I'm really glad we got that little tidbit in the beginning. But anyway, I'm ready. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. So as you may see if you're watching on YouTube, Baker Mayfield's face will be garnering most of this. But so last year in the NFC South, someone had to make the playoffs, and it turned out to be the Buccaneers. Although they are looking quite unlikely to be that team this year, there may be some value from the fantasy perspective. So I'll give you a little bit of fun. You know, it's going to be a little negative, but there will be some positives sprinkled in there. So Tampa didn't really have the huge splashy move this offseason, although once again, we talked about this, it could be, one of these kind of players that goes to this team. But let's start with the obvious. Brady retired last year again, for the time being. All important stipulations to that, just because we don't know what's happening with him. They also did release Leonard Fournette and Cameron Brate, and they did gain the man whose face is on the screen, Baker Mayfield, and Chase Edmonds. In the draft, they added D-line and O-line help, so nothing really huge for fantasy. Kalijah Cansey in the first and Cody Mock in the second. This team's going to be a little less exciting to watch this year, but let's get to what's left on this roster. And just kind of remember that this roster did retain the majority of its talent. Did lose a couple big pieces, but anyway. So it's an intense and riveting quarterback battle with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. I think we're all assuming Mayfield will get the first crack at this. And although neither of these quarterbacks are startable, you should actually keep an eye on them. And yes, even in redraft. So the reason being at this point is these guys are not going to be the next Joe Burrow or anything close to any semblance of a great quarterback. But whoever wins this quarterback job and gets to start will be throwing to one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. But yeah, don't draft these guys. If you draft Baker Mayfield, I will laugh at you. Yes, go ahead, Billy.
I was just going to say, and I'm not saying this because of Baker Mayfield. It could be Kyle Trask, either one. Do you think either of these guys has a chance to pull a Geno Smith where it's kind of, you got these good weapons there. Maybe it doesn't rely necessarily on the quarterback being awesome, but just the fact that there's weapons there could make them an actual viable player. What do you think about that?
Tune in next week to find out. I was literally about to get there, but I appreciate you jumping the gun. I do think there's a chance, but I don't think it's going to be quite what Geno did. I don't think it's top 5. That's why I'm saying keep an eye on this because someone's going to start on this team and they still got Godwin and Evans to throw to. So there's a chance. Getting into that, Godwin and Evans currently going as wide receiver 29 and 30. And it may seem like that's the ages of these guys, but they're actually only 27 and 29. And it was only just 3 years ago that these guys were playing with Jameis Winston, who threw for 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. But 2,400 of those yards and 17 touchdowns combined for this pair of wide receivers. And they ended up as wide receiver 8 and wide receiver 2 that year. I get it. But like Billy said here, Baker and Trask are probably worse than probably even 2019 Jameis. But this point is, it doesn't exactly matter. The quarterback is not that great when you get a 1,000-yard receiver as a wide receiver 3 in the 6th or 7th round. So I would just personally take advantage of this little loophole of a team here. I always look for low ADP and high skill position players, and Godwin and Evans have been doing it for years, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon. So those two right there are the people that you're going to want the most. Both have been pretty valid starters for the last 5 or 6 years apiece. Godwin obviously missed a season back in 20. Oh, he never missed a full season.
Yeah.
No, he only missed a few games in 2020. And that was kind of a bite to his ADP, but honestly, 7 touchdowns still that year. So
didn't he tear his ACL, or am I tripping here?
I thought he did too for some reason.
But it was at the end of the season. Remember, because he was going to get a contract after the season.
Oh yeah, and then he signed the 1 year.
Yeah, and then he had to sign the 1 year. It's a sad story.
Honestly, I'm glad he's still on this team. I don't know. I'm excited about these two guys. I think that where they're going right now in the 6th or 7th round is a steal. You're getting a wide receiver 3 or a wide receiver 2 at wide receiver 3 price. So, I mean, the people that are around him just don't look the same. And I think there's going to be a lot of fade on these two all year. And I don't think there's going to be any hype, because it's going to be like Baker Mayfield threw a pick in the preseason game or in practice against one of the 3rd string cornerbacks. And everybody's just going to be like, fuck Godwin. It's fucked. But once again, remind you, 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions for Jameis in 2019. So it's been bad before, and these people are professionals. They've done this for 6 years, 7 years, some of them. Anyway, as for the rest of the receivers, Gage can be targeted in deeper leagues, but mostly as a handcuff, or if either one of these two get traded, which I think there were some rumors swirling in the beginning of the offseason. He could have some standalone success, but I'm probably not the type that you would be really hoping for. Behind that, I'm not rostering anyone. I don't know if you guys have a sleeper wide receiver on this team, but I do not. Okay, cool. Just making sure.
No, it seems like Gage is going to be the guy that Baker Mayfield just hones in on.
Joe, he was dead on.
Yeah. When he was on Cleveland, you had Jarvis and OBJ, and he was throwing, I forgot who it was. It wasn't
DPJ. It was Donovan Peoples-Jones.
It was just, he just had his dude, and he peppered him the whole time. And I know Russell Gage is just going to tank any of our best laid plans.
See, I'm not worried about it personally. Yeah. I think Evans and Godwin spoke for themselves. He was on the team last year and didn't do a whole lot. So with Brady,
I got Godwin in the bottom of the 7th in a league, and I think Evans went right after that. So no, you're totally right about that. I know Baker Mayfield. I just feel like he's going to do something dumb.
I think Evans might be the tallest receiver Baker has ever played with professionally. Like, I don't think he has ever played with somebody that tall. You saw how he used Njoku, and Njoku's tall, obviously, because he's a tight end. So maybe having a tall target like that might actually be more helpful for him. But it is worth mentioning that, like, you know, maybe this is the best weapons he's ever played with. Who knows?
It absolutely is. I mean, all he really ever had was Odell Beckham and DPJ, maybe for a couple of years at the end there.
And Jarvis, but yeah.
Oh, and Jarvis. But Jarvis was washed when he came to Cleveland, or Baker made him washed. I don't know, one or the other. All right. Anyway, getting into my most excited parts is I mainly just want to impress upon you, Chris Godwin's and Evans are still relevant, even though it may not feel like it. But people I'm most excited about are the sophomores this year. And Rachaad White comes into this year at the moment as the lead and really only running back. This is one of those blow up balloons if one of these people come back to this team. Keyshawn Vaughn and Chase Edmonds are there as well, but I don't, unless barring some terrible production at camp, the backfield is all White. Get it. All right. Anyway, the thing that excites me most about him is not the opportunity as the lead back alone, and not the offensive line, which was ranked 9th last year and 13th this year, and not him being the 26th ranked running back in redraft right now, but it's his catching out of the backfield at the end of the last season. He averaged over 5 targets per game in his last 6 at the end of 2020 and 2022, my apologies, and caught 30 of the 33 balls that were thrown to him. And the best part about that was Fournette was healthy during that time. Now, I don't know what's in store for this team, but White does have the opportunity to break out and be what this team needs to be to succeed. If you're drafting, if you're drafting currently and there's no Barry bumps happening, I think you can get him in the 6th or 7th behind, his counterparts, wide receivers. I think he's ranked like number 70 overall in redraft rankings. Super excited about White. I think there's a chance here. There's obviously a chance that he does absolutely abysmal and doesn't do anything at all. But I think the opportunity and the pass catching prowess and PPR, he's going to be a darling, in my opinion. I'm just really hoping there's no Barry bump and he goes in like the 4th round in drafts. And then Cade Otton has a similar situation. Brait vacated 40-ish targets after him being cut. And Otton already had 65 targets his rookie year. So tight end room's his, and I think he showed some flashes last year and could have a chance to have himself a good season. So Yes, the quarterback room is a disaster, but even Davis Mills threw for 3,000 yards last year, and Brissett would have if he played the whole year. So to put this in, fantasy football, internet lingo speak, these are not the bad players that you let your idiot league mates draft.
I couldn't put it better myself.
Killing it.
Lumber
I
shot
would before we get to the defense, I would like to mention though. Oh wait, you still got to talk about Cade Otton?
No, I talked about Cade. I was just going to pull up the stat. It's hard to pull up things
Okay,
while
I
I'm talking.
thought you did, so I just wanted to make sure. Vegas is currently having this as the second best odds to have the worst offense in the NFL this year. Arizona is currently slated to be the least scoring offense. Tampa Bay is currently slated to be the second worst offense, according to betting odds. So if that does scare you a little bit, I think that the weapons are too good on this team. I know Baker's there. I know Kyle Trash Can is there. I get it, but Vegas is not on our side with this.
No. So this is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how good the team does. It's going to be ugly fucking football. Baker's going to throw for 20-something interceptions. Trask is going to throw for 20 interceptions. But if we look at the Texans last year, Davis Mills did not play good football, but Damian Pierce still had 1,000 yards. Brandon Cook still had 1,000 yards. There's still weapons that are going to get points, fantasy points. I'm not saying this team is going to be good. I'm not saying they're going to win the division. I don't think they will. I think it's going to be really ugly. But I think that there's options for fantasy football. This is a fantasy football podcast. We're not talking about the Tampa. I'm not saying Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the fucking playoffs even, but they'd be lucky to win a game. God damn.
I was about to say, thank God you're not, because we'll
no. This is all about fantasy perspective. I don't know. Anything else you want to add? I mean, maybe I was a little too hyped about them, but I'm excited about the value. Because you're getting.
I just think that Vegas saying this is going to be the second worst offense is just way off the charts. I mean, we're going to get to one here in a second when I go. I think is worse looking than this one, and I don't know. I think Vegas might be off on that. I think even though you don't know who the quarterback's going to be, they're still going to be better than some other teams, other than just the Cardinals.
I would not be shocked if Baker pulls a Geno Smith type thing, just because his career's been so weird to this point. And it's crazy he's only been in the league 5 years, and I don't know.
Well, the thing is there's zero expectations. I mean, everybody expects him to suck. So, I mean, what better situation to be in than hey, we're kind of going for the number one pick, but if you're good, okay, we'll take it. That's kind of the situation they're in.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be great by any means, but I think they'll be okay. I think it'll be a 6-7 win team. Pretty much what the NFC South was last year, where who knows if anyone will win this division type thing. So
I think we're going to be there again.
Just touching on the defense, we still got Joe Troy on Shawinka waiting up for that breakout. 4 sacks in his first 2 years. Hasn't looked great. I'm hoping for better. This defense is still pretty decent. Still got Vita Vea at nose tackle. They did draft Kalijah Cansey, who's registered as a defensive tackle on their depth chart, but I'm pretty sure he's also an edge rusher or can at least be some sort of hybrid. And then their linebacker core is the exact same. They got Devin White, Levante David, and Shaquille Barrett, who Shaq Barrett on the outside can do some rushing, and Levante David can soak up some tackles. But Devin White's your target on defense here. 100+ tackles the last few years and 5s and 7s of sacks. And he's just an animal and is going to continue to be. And especially if this team's bad, there's going to be a lot of runs against them. So a lot of tackles that Devin White can sweep up on. And then they did add Ryan Neal too. I didn't touch on that in the safety role because they did lose the guy to the Eagles that I don't even care about. And then they got Antoine Winfield still, who can still make some tackles out there in the backfield. So I always love looking for a pretty decent defense with a supposedly bad offense for defensive players. So there's some skill here. I don't know, anyone I didn't touch on that you guys want to add to?
No, I just wanted to highlight Ryan Neal, though, because, I mean, we saw him interceptions, sacks, forced fumbles. He kind of did it all last year in Seattle. And this defense should give him more opportunities to make those kind of plays, especially in the starting role. So he's one of those guys that I know a couple people have their eyes on him, but he might be on your waivers, honestly, right now, depending on what kind of league you play in.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the Eagles signed for. He's a depth safety signing, and he did okay for years on the Bucs. I don't even care, honestly. But Yeah, he is. That role is Ryan Neal's, so I don't know a whole lot about him. I know he did pretty decent on Seattle last year, but other than that, I don't have much information to share there. But just basically, moral of the story is let's let the team be bad first before we just predict Godwin and Mike Evans are washed. I just have a feeling that there are analysts out there saying, do not draft Mike Evans or Godwin. They're going to be trash. Baker's throwing them the ball. That's not always the recipe for success. No offense to Geno. Geno obviously played out of his mind last year, but he walked into a stellar receiver room and he showed that he could do it. I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong with Geno. Obviously, he had a great year. Davis Mills had no receivers and still threw for 3,000 yards. It's all about opportunity, and Baker gets one more chance to show that he's not complete trash.
Not wrong. Story of Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
All right. The over-under for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is 5.
All right. So they go Minnesota, Bears, Eagles, Saints, Lions, Falcons, Bills, Texans, Titans, 49ers, Colts, Panthers, Falcons, Packers, Jaguars, Saints, and the Panthers.
I'm going to go with over because I think they can win 3 games in their division, and then they can beat the Colts and another random team. I don't know. I'd like to go even. I wish this was 4.5.
That's a tough schedule for this team. But who knows?
Yes.
Maybe Baker's better than we think.
No, they'll probably lose. I think they're going to win 5 games exactly. I take the even.
12.
The defense alone will help them win.
Can't do that, so I'm going over for you. Joe, where are you at?
Give me under. It was hard.
I'm going over as well, just because I do think they could get to 6, but
I thought 6 sounded good until I heard that schedule.
6 is going to be a grind, but who knows? Maybe this division's like just rough enough to where I have no idea what's going to happen. So literally anything could happen, probably. All right, on to my sorry ass team that I'm covering this week, and that is the Carolina Panthers. Now, starting off, it is like a rebuild situation, so the expectation should be semi chilled out. I don't think we should immediately expect big things, but at the same time, the ADP currently is reflecting just that. Nobody's expecting big things. So we'll start off with Bryce Young at the top, quarterback 25 currently. He's not even being drafted as a starter in a super flex league, which I just man, that seems a little tough. I do think that he is going to have a rough start because he is as small as Kyler Murray. He's not as quick. This offensive line is going to be kind of rough right out the gate, I think. I think it's going to take him a minute to adjust. But at the same time, he is really good delivering the ball and, with his footwork and figuring out how to get out of situations. I do think Bryce Young is equipped for just that kind of thing. So I don't think he's necessarily QB 25, but I do think he's not going to be a starter on any one QB league teams. That's just how it's going to be, I think, for year one for Bryce Young. But maybe he could surprise even further. Wide receiver room. We'll get into this hot-ass mess of a wide receiver room. Currently on Underdog right now, Jonathan Mingo is actually the wide receiver 1 on this team, which I'm like, Dynasty Brains, you are out there. Our friends, you guys are out there and you are mucking this up for everyone. So Jonathan Mingo is going as wide receiver 62. I don't necessarily think that's a bad spot for him, but it's a little rich going ahead of Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, who are behind him at wide receiver 64 and wide receiver 69. I do think there's value in both of those guys. I think both of them have shown in the past that they can, especially Adam Thielen. I mean, he's the perfect safety blanket for a guy like Bryce Young. And DJ Chark is that long downfield option, which we all like him on on this podcast. And he's never really gotten, I think, the chance. I mean, the Jaguars, we love that one year he flashed, then he got hurt. Then he got to Detroit. He was flashing for a minute there. Then he got hurt. And it's just been kind of the story of Chark's career. This would be a nice place for him to bounce back and maybe figure out how to get, a little bit more out of his NFL career than he has so far. There's the other 3 guys on this team, Terrace Marshall, Laviska Shenault, and Shai Smith. all going past wide receiver 85. It's been a rough spot for Terrace Marshall. We've all kind of expected like him to be the guy waiting in the wings to get the breakout. But now with this new coaching staff and some of these signings they've made and even the drafting of Jonathan Mingo, I don't really know what that means for him. Kind of sucks. I kind of hope he gets on, maybe just plays out his contract with the Carolina Panthers and then finds himself on a different team in a new situation, because I think that's the only way he's going to get onto the field, because I don't think they're looking to put him on the field. I think Laviska Shenault has a better chance than Terrace Marshall, just because I think that is the kind of guy that they want to get on the field. What do you guys think of this messy ass wide receiver room?
This is the wide receivers that you would like to, let's call it the dark alley approach, you know? Like, obviously, you'd like to have that one friend who's a black belt in karate walking down the thing with you, but no, you're just going to get the whole gang together and you're going to go down the alley and you're going to see who steps up. And that's kind of what this is. I mean, we saw the reports, Terrace Marshall's stunning people at camp, and Laviska Shenault's going to be the Debo Samuel of this team. You've seen all this. Really, until they start playing, we're not going to know. We have no idea. I mean, Thielen's going to be out there just because of ageism. He's the old guy in the room
veteran
for the young court. Yeah, he's the veteran. So I don't know. I don't know how it shakes out.
My biggest thing is, and I want to go back to what you touched on with Bryce Young being quarterback 25 in this year. Last year, quarterback 25 and 26 were Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Ryan, who threw for 2,500 yards and 3,000 yards. I'm not saying, obviously there's going to be, it's not just yardage with Bryce Young. You're going to get some rushing angle there as well. How are we putting him that low at this point? I think 19, 20 sounds about right. He's going to be a backup quarter. Like, people are going to draft him as a backup quarterback. There's no way someone's going to take, let's just say Matt Ryan was still playing. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo is a perfect example. Jimmy Garoppolo is still playing. No, I would take Bryce Young over Jimmy Garoppolo right now. And even, let's say, healthy Jimmy Garoppolo, like, as my second quarterback. I don't really want someone who I know throws for about 3,000 yards when I have a guy who has the capability to go and be quarterback 15 or 12 or maybe even better. But as for the wide receivers, someone on this team is going to be good. I don't know who it is. Like Joe said, Thielen's going to be out there first. He's going to get the first crack of the job, but he's been slipping in years prior here, which, he's 32. It's going to happen. He's been a great story for his entire career. I think he'll be potentially usable as a flex option or in deeper leagues. And then DJ Chark, like Billy said, we want to see him do it. And then now Camp News is telling us Terrace Marshall's going to be it. And then they also got Mingo. So it's complicated, but like, someone's going to be the number one on this team. I don't think it's just an even distribution of crap. Like, Bryce Young's going to latch onto somebody, and I don't know who it is. I'm going to probably tentatively draft one of these guys in a lot of leagues just to see.
And I think you should. I mean, literally, like, the first one you draft on this team is the 13th round of the draft. Like, at 13 for Mingo, 14 for Thielen, and 16 for Chark. And it's like that. Yeah, that's about the time you should take a dart throw on one of these guys, because one of these guys ended up with like 800 yards and 5 touchdowns, which not necessarily a wide receiver 1, but it's a flex play, maybe a wide receiver 2 if he stays healthy the whole season. It's not a bad spot to have that person in. It's kind of rough. And back to your quarterback point, with him going to QB 25, Anthony Richardson, who is not the thrower that Bryce Young is going as QB 11. Like, I know that that's almost all tied to his rushing upside and Shane Steichen and that whole thing. But to give him the QB 11, that's a starter versus what you're doing with Bryce Young, which is not even a starter in a super flex league. It's just the disparity. Like, it's kind of way too much. It's way too far apart for me.
Also, Bryce Young's probably going, or I would imagine, starting over Andy Dalton to start off with. And number 2, Richardson might sit behind Minshew for a couple games. Like, we don't know.
We literally don't know, because Shane Steichen literally worked with Minshew. Like, that's who his quarterback's been behind Hurts. Like, why would he not throw him out there a couple of games if he's not sure that Anthony Richardson can play right away? I don't know why. We've done the Indianapolis pod, but still, like, Bryce Young might start behind Andy Dalton, but I don't know why. He's the number 1 pick in the draft. Like, how long are you going to keep him on the bench? You don't typically do that. It just doesn't happen that way. Okay. On to the last part of this. Well, there's two technically, but one matters. And that's the running backs. Miles Sanders going as RB20 right now. I think this is perfect value. I think everyone should be after Miles Sanders. I do agree with some of the pundits out there that have said like there was still meat on the bone for Miles Sanders last season and that his stats should have been better. He still ended up, RB15 in PPR, RB10 in standard. Like he had a good season. I don't see why we're overlooking that. And now behind him, he's just got Chuba Hubbard, who's RB56, and Rasheem Blackshear, who's not even really relevant enough to be considered. This is his backfield. I mean, unless they're deciding to add somebody unnecessarily, I don't know why Miles Sanders would not be the workhorse that they kind of planned on him to be and in line for potentially another RB1 type season where he could end up in that top 12. I don't know why people are like, we're still having him at RB20. We're still overthinking it a little bit. I know this offense is going to be bad. Apparently they don't think this, Vegas doesn't think this offense is going to be as bad as Tampa's, which I think is ridiculous because I think this offense is going to be a little rough. I think the defense is really where this is going to shine. But RB20 seems like perfect value for him, and I think you're going to get one of the steals of the draft, just like you did last year with Miles Sanders yet again. He is signed there for the long term. They plan on using him. I don't see why people are overthinking this. And then quickly, the tight ends. The Hayden Hurst signed a tight end contract for 3 years, and he is currently going as tight end 25. It's kind of always the rumor that, or not really the rumor, but like the thing is that rookie QBs love their tight ends. So if you believe in that kind of mantra, Hayden Hurst might be a steal for you. I don't think he should be undrafted. I think tight end 25 is kind of extreme, but he is kind of capped. He has not had an amazing career.
Yeah. I mean,
go get Miles Sanders.
I was going to say, I love that Miles Sanders had the best year of his career in games where they rushed only 10 times with him, 11 times with him. And that he still goes back to where he was drafted at. Like people just hate Miles Sanders and I don't personally get it. I'm getting Miles Sanders everywhere again. The Miles Sanders Montgomery has always been my running back 3 on the team in the 4th to 7th round. Like nobody ever wants either one of those guys. And I'm always cool with one of those guys because the joke was Miles Sanders didn't score any touchdowns the year before. Well, he scored 11 last year and he wasn't even using the passing game at all. He did come out in camp and say, hey, listen, let me do that. I can do that too for us.
He will be this year. For sure.
Oh, absolutely will be. There's going to be designed passes. There's going to be dump offs to him. I don't see Chuba Hubbard really taking too much of his workload. I mean, I'm sure he'll
definitely
be
not
complimentary back, but he wasn't ever explosive last year. He had a couple big games, but it was never anything consistent. And I don't see it.
Worst case for them, they bring in Zeke or Leonard Fournette. That's the worst case scenario for Miles Sanders. And if they don't do that, you should just everyone out there should just know he is for sure going to be in line for that work. Because literally Miles Sanders is better than Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jahmyr Gibbs had a really good year at Alabama with Bryce Young last season. Saw how that, how he got used there, and he's getting an upgrade in Miles Sanders at the next level. So I think people are still underrating Miles Sanders. I don't know how, I don't know what this man has to do, but I the worst part is there's just so many people out there that are like, well, he could have done more. And it's okay. every player could have done more in their year. I don't know what that is supposed to prove, but I don't know. Just kind of
this is going to be a Barry bump guy 1,000%. And people are already starting to warm up on Miles Sanders. So if you can get him at a value right now or make a trade in a Dynasty League, this is the time to strike because once draft season approaches, he will not be going this low anymore.
Definitely not. And the only reason I can think people are holding him back at this point is that they think somebody might sign there. That's literally the only reason. I don't know why they would sign someone there now. It seems like you would want to get somebody in with the rookie QB right away and the rookie head coach right away just to kind of get things in, but I don't know. Maybe they're waiting.
I could see him bringing in a pass catching type back or something, but maybe. I don't think your average fantasy football guy in drafts is thinking about future signings on teams too much. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he is pushed down that low, other than just haters being haters.
He always has been. People have always hated on him.
I'll get through this defense. This is a really good defense, by the way. I really like who they got there. They brought in that Ejo Evero guy from Denver, who was really good for them last year, and they brought him in to run the defense. They have our guy Shaq Thompson, our guy Frankie Louvu, who was the hero last season. Brian Burns, still always one of the best defensive ends. They brought in Von Bell, safety from Cincinnati, which is really good for this defense. Jeremy Chin is slated to have a bounce back year. They still have Xavier Woods, who put in a pretty decent season last year. And then Yetur Gross-Matos, who never has the greatest year, but he's always pretty solid. He's always a guy that you can draft, and the floor is pretty good. Even the ceiling might not. He never might reach his actual ceiling. Is there anybody else behind him that you all want to talk about?
Derek Brown is very serviceable, especially if you're in a deeper league. He'll get you some sacks. You pretty much nailed it, though.
Well, I did mention Camus Grugier-Hill but they did bring him in. I don't know who gets spelled out for him. Maybe Shaq Thompson. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how you can bench Frankie Louvu though after last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Camus Grugier-Hill because he's actually had some pretty decent fill-ins. So I think he should be on your radar. I don't think you need to be like, I'm drafting him, he's gonna be great. But just a couple years ago in Houston, he did have a 100-yard or 100 tackle season and a few sacks to boot. So, I mean, he could easily take that Grados Matos spot as well and kind of be more of an edge rush kind of linebacker. I don't see him really spelling out Shaq Thompson much, although he's a little older. He's still been solid throughout his career. I don't see any way he's just getting kicked out of that lineup. But yeah, Louvu's one of the guys I'm most excited about because just been flashing. And he's going to soak up them tackles.
One of the best stories of last season, him and Hufanga from San Francisco. But those two guys just really, were not really known going into the season as far as count on guys, and they ended up being that by the end of the season. All right, Panthers over under this season is 5.5.
Oh, so it wasn't that much more than Tampa.
Nope.
So they get Hotlanta, New Orleans, then they go Seahawks, Vikings, Lions, Dolphins, Texans, Colts, Bears, Cowboys, Titans, Buccaneers, Saints, Falcons, Packers, Jaguars, Buccaneers.
Part of me wants to say they can because I actually am excited about this team. I know there's no clear-cut wide receiver one on the team, but this wide receivers room is better than some of the other ones out there, even with a number one wide receiver, just because there is good pieces that are all different. But I'm going to go under.
I just think, and I think I'm going under too, but the defense is good. Last year, I think we could all agree if they would have just had a better offense, that includes Baker Mayfield. If they had had a better offense, this team would have been a lot better. I don't know how they're that far away, from 6 wins. I don't know, because they weren't 6 wins bad last year, I don't think. Yeah, I guess I'm going under, but I don't love it.
This whole team hinges on the health of Miles Sanders, in my opinion. And as a Chicago Bears fan, I think they win 0 games this year.
Oh, I forgot about this.
So
okay.
I am 100% going under.
Should have penciled you in for under before we started.
No, I think the Bears do get a good draft pick here. I think it's going to be not quite what the Eagles was last year. I don't think the Bears are going to the playoffs or the Super Bowl by any means, but I do think that the Bears have a chance to have either 2 great picks or 1 great pick and 1 bad pick, and that doesn't even mean their team's doing bad. So
yeah.
Next year's going to be a good draft for Joe. We're looking forward to it for him.
Very excited. I got my trash can out and my whiteboard, and just going to write some stuff.
Love it. All right, Joe, have at it.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the New Orleans Saints. In 2022, this team went 7-10. They went on to lose Marcus Davenport, Andy Dalton, Caden Ellis, Shai Tuttle, Mark Ingram, Jarvis Landry, Marquez Callaway. They brought back Juwan Johnson and then went out and got Derek Carr, Jamal Williams, Lonnie Johnson, Jonathan Abram, and Brian Edwards. And then we had a pretty killer draft. Got Brian Breesy in the middle, Isaiah Folksy on the edge, Kendre Miller, and A.T. Harry. But we're going to start this off talking about Derek Carr. He is currently QB 19, 144 overall. My man had a down year last year, still threw for 3,500 yards. Dalton and Winston scored 232.1 fantasy points combined last year. Derek Carr had 233.1 fantasy points. So we got an upgrade, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, Dalton and Winston threw for more yardage combined than Derek Carr did. And Las Vegas passed more than the Saints did last year. So what does this all mean? This means that Derek Carr had a down year. He got benched. The Raiders made his wife cry. So now he's all pissed off. He's got a fresh slate, and he's coming down to New Orleans. He's always going to be a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. Barring some drastic change, we will see him there again. QB 15, QB 16. That's what's going to happen. Maybe even worse than that. Where it gets interesting, though, is with the wide receivers. So we got Chris Olave. He is wide receiver 12, 19th overall. Last year, caught 72 passes for 1,042 yards and 4 touchdowns. While working with Derek Carr in Las Vegas, Devontae Adams had 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns. So I think it's safe to assume that Olave will at least double his TDs, which would have made him wide receiver 8 last year. That would have been one spot ahead of Jalen Waddle. And Derek Carr was 5th with 72 deep ball attempts, 9.4 average depth of target, was 2nd in the league. And Olave is incredible, possibly elite when he goes downfield. So Derek Carr was the best deep ball passers in the league last year, and pair him with Olave, who's one of the best deep ball wide receivers. So I really like Chris Olave, is the long-winded way of where I'm getting this. Wide receiver 12 is a steal for this man right now. I expect him to finish quite a bit better than that. And then we got everybody's pariah, Michael Thomas. He is 91 overall. He played 10 games in the past 3 seasons and still has made $50 million for his efforts, which is insane to me. In the last 2 weeks, he started last year. He was wide receiver 8. Mickey Loomis stated that the ankle and the broken foot on the other foot are not a concern and that Michael Thomas is going to be back playing. So if he is indeed healthy, which I'm very scared to go down this stairway again, but he has incredible value. He's going as wide receiver 47 right now. And we know what Michael Thomas can do. This just breaks my brain trying to figure out what to do with Michael Thomas right now. Part of me is like, man, he's such a good value. But then part of me is like, he could just not play. Dude, are you guys in the same boat with that?
I got it, dude. I drafted him in 2020. I was so excited. I was like, Michael Thomas to the moon, wide receiver 1 last year. Played 7 games? It's embarrassing. And then he didn't play in 2021, and then he still only played a few games in 2022. It's just, I would love to see him play again. I think this is a Josh Gordon situation without the drugs. But it's basically going to be a shade of what he used to be. He's not coming back, and he's going to be 1,400 yards. I don't even think he hits 1,000. But like you said, Joe, he looked good in the 2 games he played at the beginning of last year. Five catches for 2 touchdowns. He looked great. He had 3 touchdowns in the first 2 games. We were like, holy shit, Michael Thomas is back. And someone got him at a steal last year because nobody wanted to do it. Now it's even worse because nobody wants to draft Michael Thomas anymore. And it's one of those things that it could be a league changer if he actually plays the full season.
It just kills me. You said you drafted him in 2020. We're 3 years later. We're still having this goddamn conversation.
Is he going to play this year?
It's crazy.
It's literally like a jack in the box. You never you crank the little thing and then it pops out and it gets you again, and you're just like, damn it, got me again. I can't believe it. I didn't think it was gonna pop out this time. I did the little spin with the song. I didn't think it was gonna pop, and then it gets me again. And I feel like that's what Michael Thomas is. It's a jack in the box. And I don't want to be part of it. I mean, at this point, we haven't seen him play. Not only that, we don't even know, what is a good season for Michael Thomas at this point? Because if you're saying it's 1,000 yards, your head's in the clouds if you literally think that. I mean, the best case for him now, I think, is that 600 to 700 yard guy, 5 touchdowns. I think that's kind of what you're hoping for, especially with Derek Carr. I can't.
But he got 3 touchdowns in 2 games last year, and then he got injured again, or still was injured, or whatever. Maybe he was still playing injured. That's the thing is
Well, okay, maybe it's only 5 games this year that he does that. Who knows?
He's keeping the fucking hope alive, which is
and
what's
then with
killing
the PPR,
everyone.
he's catching like 9 fucking balls every game, and you're like, if he can go back to at least being the safety blanket for Derek Carr, I don't know, but
like I said, I don't want you put the Jack in Box in front of me. I am not spinning that thing again. Yeah, exactly. I don't.
Dude, I'm changing his name on Sleeper right now.
Go
Jack
for
in the
it.
Box Thomas.
That's literally what you're dealing with. You're literally dealing with something that like it seems fun, but then it scares you in the end. I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie though. Not talking about Michael Thomas for a second. Olave's ADP scares me. He had a great year last year. He ended up as wide receiver 25, playing most of the year, obviously with bad QB play, but he looked phenomenal. Ended up as wide receiver 25. Like you said, yeah, you add some touchdowns to that for sure up there, wide receiver 8, whatever. He's played with Derek Carr. The definition of mediocre quarterback, it wasn't an upgrade. It was very lateral of a move at quarterback. My biggest fear is drafting him in the second round and then him just being wide receiver 20 or 18. Like, it seems a little rich for me on the ADP. I love Olave. I want him to do well. I got him in the Dynasty League. Thanks, Billy, for the draft pick. But I just feel like there are options out there for cheaper, like Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy, DK Metcalf behind him, pick like around behind him.
I would take Olave, but way ahead of all of them.
He's going way ahead of him. I'm talking. This is 8 picks down. I'm just saying, like I could see all of these guys breaking out. Devontae Smith is 3 picks lower than him. We already saw what he could do. He I don't know. To me, this isn't me saying Olave's bad. I'm just saying I feel like there are options, and I feel like Olave, like you said, he could have a wide receiver 5 year. He could also have a wide receiver 10 or 20 year. Like, you don't know what's going to happen here. This team's kind of a mystery box.
I just think pairing one of the best wide receivers in the league with the deep ball with one of the best deep ball quarterbacks is kind of a match made in heaven right there. So
I'm excited for him. The price tag's a little high.
You just got to take with what he dealt with the last few years. Like, he was with Devontae Adams last year. Devontae Adams had a fantastic year. Before that, he was with I forgot his name. Not Waller, but Hunter Renfrow. Didn't really expect much from Hunter Renfrow, but he ended up putting in some really good seasons. And I think that we're just kind of thinking this is the next version of that, unless Michael Thomas drops a hand grenade in all of that, and then
Jack in the Box Thomas.
Exactly. If the Jack in the Box pops out, and then
that's an issue as well. I just feel like I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to down on Olave's skill. I think the skill is there. I think the issue is we don't know what's going to happen with Carr. Like, obviously Olave looked fucking phenomenal for his rookie season, and the sky's the limit. And I think, 1,000 yards for his rookie year is phenomenal, and the touchdowns should go up. But like, what if it's the same year and you got him as wide receiver 12? I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not saying it's going to.
No, I totally understand what you're. I mean, in a perfect world, Olave would be like your wide receiver 2. Like, if you went Justin Jefferson and then landed Olave, I don't know how that would work out in a draft, but he's going to give you those monster games, and I feel like we're going to have quite a few of them from Olave this year. But he's like your typical deep ball guy. I don't think he's ever going to get you 10 catches for 200 yards.
That's actually what he looked like in the beginning of his, like, the first part of last season, and then the last part of last season, it was just like you're hoping he gets a touchdown.
So Andy Dalton's such.
No, it was a Dalton situation too. You got to downgrade that.
Bryce Young starting.
Yeah, we're right. There's no way Dalton's starting after last year. I kind of forgot that he even started for the Saints last year.
It was rough.
All right, I just wanted to
play devil's advocate
real quick.
Sorry.
No, you're good. And I understand where you're coming from. I'm just hyped. I'm hyped.
Yeah, what else you got?
Hyped on stuff. All right, so the only other pass catcher I'm really caring about right now is Juwan Johnson. He had 11 touchdowns the last 2 years. Going into year 4 with a quarterback that loves the tight end. We may see Foster Moreau, who came over from Las Vegas, take into that a little bit, but he had cancer treatments on there, and I just think that Juwan Johnson is a better tight end than he is at the moment. So I don't know where Monroe's health is right now, and Juwan Johnson looked really good last year. So if he can capitalize, he's there.
I got to interrupt, man. What is it with you and the people who have cancer? Like, you just fucking hate them? Fucking first it's Mechie, now it's fucking Foster
I don't know
Moreau.
where you're getting this stack that I hate him.
I'm just kidding. No, I do.
How much
I do
cancer
agree.
treatment would take out of an NFL player.
I think he's
going to
be a little slower, but he did get a full clean bill of health after the last 2 months.
Nice.
But he has.
I didn't even
doing
know about
cancer
that,
treatment
so.
for 2 months. So I mean, he's going to be obviously a little out of shape to start the season. I'm just giving you.
As soon as well, no. Here's the thing though. As soon as Joe found out he had cancer, he just immediately marked him off, and he didn't check in back with it ever again.
You guys are assholes.
And
then we got Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver 74. Interesting name to watch. He's got speed that can match up well with Carr's deep ball. We have to see how the playing time is divided up. A.T. Perry is a good combo of size and speed. Huge wingspan. Could be good in the red zone, but not getting overly hyped on him just yet. Brian Edwards is everyone's favorite 8 beer at the bar. Serviceable, but could always be more. Just a body at the end of the day. And then Traquan Smith is still alive. But I recently heard the Saints wide receiver room called the Island of Misfit Toys, and that is the perfect name to showcase this group.
Dude, Lynn Bowden's on this team. Like, yes, it's definitely Island of Misfit Toys if Lynn Bowden's on the team.
That is crazy.
Dude, Brian Edwards. Remember when everybody thought he was going to be the better receiver of him and wasn't it Amari Cooper? Or no, who came in at the same time as Brian Edwards? Ruggs. Oh, oof. Never mind. Let's just skip right past that.
Technically, he is.
I don't know. I think Ruggs still has better yardage.
In the prison games.
Yikes. Think he has more upside, Joe?
No, not yet.
More downside for sure. If he's in prison.
That's
hold my pocket.
I guess everybody was right about Brian Edwards.
As far as going with the wide receivers, I do think A.T. Perry should get some love because if we don't see Michael Thomas, if the Jack in the Box stays in the box the whole entire year, A.T. Perry's interesting because he's like 6'5", 200 pounds. He was really good deep ball receiver in college. I know that's kind of Chris Olave's bread and butter, but if they focus on Olave, if the defenses hone in on stopping just Olave, might add some interesting things for him to get on the field early. So it might be worth a flyer. I mean, we'll just have to see how camp news goes, but might be worth a flyer.
I agree
that
with
slant route that Michael Thomas runs could be deadly with a guy like A.T. Perry.
Why wouldn't A.T. Perry step right into his role? And not to mention, why wouldn't he be the third wide receiver on the field? Rashid Shaheed, phenomenal name, by the way, is a deep ball guy. Brian Edwards is we don't know what he is. Traquan Smith is a deep ball guy. A.T. Perry's a big body to get out there for Derek Carr, who's not been the most, efficient quarterback in the world. It's good to have a guy out there that can win a jump ball for you. So I think he sees the field. I don't know if it's early, but I think he sees the field pretty decent.
I think so too. I think it's somebody to monitor. Put your little
especially
little star
like wide receiver sets.
Watch.
Throw them out there, especially goal line stuff.
Just start him for you.
Perfect.
You can be one of those guys that doesn't have a whole lot of yardage his rookie year, but has like 5-6 touchdowns.
I think he'll be like do we trade for this guy after the season kind of thing. Like, what's that guy? I think that'll be it. Because Michael Thomas will probably finally be gone by then. This will be a little less cluttered.
I still can't believe Michael Thomas has made so much money. But
all right, let's
dive into
taking too much time on the Saints.
Hey, we love the Saints, man. We're having fun here.
They're going marching in.
They go marching in, some say.
So last year, Carr targeted the running back position 23% of the time, and last year he targeted him 18% of the time, and the year before was 23% of the time. And that's Devonta Adams came in; it was taking some away from that. But he loves throwing to running backs. So we got Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Kendre Miller. Kamara had his worst season last year. He's 28 now, and worst statistical season. Not worst season overall. Who knows what we're getting with this dude with the legal troubles now. The trial date is set for July 31st, so he will miss practices this year. That is without a doubt. We're probably looking at a 4 to 6 game suspension. I know that's been in the news, but I just want to reiterate that. It could be longer if they really want to make a show of him because this is drug on for so long, but 4 to 6 games. So that leaves Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller that we're looking at to get some production for. So Jamal Williams, RB42, 2022 touchdown leader. He said, wearing his Pikachu hat, that picking up this offense is easy peasy, and he is currently being overlooked by everybody. Kendre Miller is a rookie. if Kamara misses time early in the season, they're not just going to give the job to Kendre Miller right off the bat here. So we could be looking at a really hot start for Jamal Williams, especially after what he did last year. So quit overlooking Jamal Williams. But then we got the Ferrari in the garage, and that is Kendre Miller. Just watch the damn tape on this dude. He is the future in this offense, and that could come soon, especially with legal troubles. Draft him late. Keep him on your bench. What I'm telling you right now is if you draft Kendre Miller, do not drop him week 1 when he puts up 3 points, because I don't expect that to happen. Keep him on your bench. As the season unfolds, you are going to be rewarded with a great payoff by keeping Kendre Miller on your bench.
I was just about to say the same thing. This is the candidate for I'm going to draft him as one of the late picks, and then in redraft, somebody's just like, oh, there's a new Chuba Hubbard. Just looks so good week 1. I'm picking up Chuba. Fuck Kendry. And then I'm not saying it'll be week 2, but like Kendre Miller has that opportunity to like, let's say Kamara doesn't come back. Let's say Kamara comes back and looks like shit. And then they put Kendry in, or Kendry blows up week 3 because Jamal was getting stuffed at the line and couldn't get the touchdown from the 1-yard line.
He always gets a touchdown on the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
I have a hot take, and this isn't actually a hot take. I think everybody agrees. Can the court system fucking hurry up? This happened in February of 2022, this Calvin Kamara thing. And we're in July of 2023, and we're still not we haven't happened yet. Like, Can we pick it up? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, if it's a fine, just let's get the fine going. If it's jail time, like, let's get that. Like what? Come on.
Yeah.
I can't believe
we're locked on, guys, for the Saints. We're talking about how they might cut Kamara this year. It doesn't make sense financially, but just to get rid of all the circus around the thing, it's kind of a name to keep an eye out for.
Okay. All right. I got to talk about Kamara just for 1 second. Obviously, what he did was not good. He punched a guy in the face. He fucked his face up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it's the okay situation. It's not the worst crime in the world. Like,
where are we going with this?
I'm getting to the point.
Problem was it was during the Pro Bowl, and that's where I think the NFL is going to really freak out about.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to get suspended. It'll be 4 to 6 games.
Continue your point. I can't wait to hear this.
No, it's actually better than you think. What if Kamara comes back and just beasts out? Like, I think he's going underrated right now in drafts because of the suspension. I think this is the Melvin Gordon holdout, the Dalvin Cook, the people you don't know about, the Hopkins 6-game suspension who came back last year and was just a phenomenal addition to people's fantasy teams. Kamara could be that guy this year. And obviously once we find out what the suspension is, it's going to be a little bit different. Where he's not out for the year. He's not going to be gone for an entire year. This is where Jamal Williams is a great serviceable beginning part of the season. Kendre Miller's a good hopeful, like you never know what's going to happen. But Kamara is still Kamara. He still looked good last year. He missed a few games. He had a couple of nagging injuries. The team was complete hot garbage. He still finished as running back 16 in PPR. Like, it wasn't great, and it wasn't what you were hoping for when you drafted him, in the 2nd round. But he's still a pass-catching back, and in PPR leagues, that is going to be great. I mean, he's a couple years removed from a 20-yard touch or 20 touchdown season. Like, let's stop writing Kamara off because of this. I'm not saying anything he did was correct or right. He's not going to be out for the whole year, and everybody just kind of seems to like avoid him like the plague. Sometimes those suspension guys or the, people who are coming off the injury or something can actually be pretty valuable to fantasy teams. And I think Kamara might be a good steal this year.
Just so everyone out there knows, Josh is saying that Alvin Kamara is the real victim here because people are underrating him.
I did not say that. The records did not say that. I could, Billy, I could literally see your face tensing up. Like, God damn it, Josh, you're gonna get canceled. You saying?
I thought you were gonna say like, what he did was bad, but playing both sides. I mean, he could have been worse. Like, that's where we were headed.
I mean, honestly, it's not a season-long suspension activity. It's not a great look for him or the organization, but he assaulted a guy. He didn't, do worse situations. So yes, I mean, essentially yes, but no, not going there.
All right, Joe, get us to the defense, please.
Moving along. All right. So defense, you have Cameron Jordan. He's old as dirt. He had 8.5 sacks last year. He has one more useful year, and then I don't think we're getting much more from him. Isaiah Folksy is the future there. He had 20.5 sacks for Notre Dame the last 2 years. Love his ceiling in this defense. Pete Werner, average 8.7 tackles per game. Should get a full play to work, and we should kind of be looking at Jordan Brooks' tackle numbers. I think it's kind of a real possibility for Pete Werner. Demario Davis, also old as dirt, 34 years old. Career high in sacks last year. Might not be used as much there because they got Folksy there. Zach Bond is a name to look at. He was a sack machine at Wisconsin, and he could replicate what Caden Ellis did last year. Tyrann Mathieu had his second highest tackle total of his career, but he's more of like DB3 to use in a pinch. And then we have Marcus May, who everyone was very hopeful for last year, but he got injured. And then they brought in Lonnie Johnson as backup. So watch how that safety competition plays out throughout training camp.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, because I feel like everyone hates Marcus May for some reason. He's actually a really skilled safety and makes some big plays. Obviously, he's a little older, and you want him to stay healthy, but I think he can actually be a pretty valid contributor to a fantasy team. He's kind of a dirty sleeper for me. Like, nobody's really looking at him, but you can get him pretty late and have some safety help on the back.
Yeah, not wrong. Just for the look at me Louis part, we talked to Isaiah Foskey at the Senior Bowl. I like him a lot, and I really hope that guy does well, because he looked the part, and how he worked out down there at Senior Bowl, it was fantastic. So really hoping for the best for him.
That's awesome. We're big Folksy fans here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's the over-under, Bill?
The over-under is 8.5 for the New Orleans Saints.
All right, we got the Titans, the Panthers, the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Patriots, the Texans, the Colts, the Bears, the Vikings, the Falcons, the Lions, the Panthers, the Giants, the Rams, the Buccaneers, and the Falcons.
Hell yeah. Give me the over. Shit.
Why did they get the easy schedule out of all these teams? Hell? They should have had the harder one.
Yeah, why did the Panthers not get it? That's wild. That is an easy schedule.
What was the number again?
8.5.
Yeah, that seems very Derek Carr-esque.
I mean, I could see him getting a 9 and 8. Why not?
I could see him getting 8 and 9 too, which is the thing.
I'm gonna go under 9 and 9.
9 and 9. 8.
They added a game. Never mind.
Technically, 8-8-1 is a under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with under because it seems very like even-esque. Like I could see them going 8 and 9 easily. I still think they make the playoffs though, because I don't think anyone else in this division can.
I have them over, because if they're playing games like the Colts and the Rams, like God, like what an easy schedule for Derek Carr. If he fucks this up, I mean, we truly have is Derek Carr elite or not? We have finally decided. This will be.
I don't know. Dude, I'm friends with a couple Raiders fans, and for some reason they were truthers on Derek Carr, and he has been the definition of a mediocre quarterback.
He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. He's a mediocre quarterback. There's nothing against it. Like, I'm not mad at it. He's Kirk Cousins 2.0. You know what I mean? Like, he's okay.
Hey,
he's a nice guy.
Don't badmouth Kirk.
I'm tired of talking about Kirk.
I'm going over.
Okay.
Over.
Under, but wins the division.
Right. On to the Dirty Birds of Atlanta. I will talk about the quarterbacks here, because we're talking about Desmond Ridder, who they apparently really believe in. I'm glad I didn't pick this team, because I don't want to talk about him very much, but I'm going to start out by talking about him because I hate this team. Hate him so much. They brought in this garbage Marcus Mariota last year, the absolute worst quarterback in the league. He had the most off-ball throws to any wide receivers in the league. Kyle Pitts was at the top of that, and Drake London was about 5th on the list of off-ball throws from the quarterback. So what do? They draft Desmond Ridder, and instead of like listening to literally everyone in the world with like, hey, Desmond Ridder's good, but there's other quarterbacks out there that might be better for your team, Atlanta just says, to hell with all that, we're throwing Desmond Ridder out there. Desmond Ridder is garbage. He was not very good. Like, he is the definition of he's never going to win you a game, but he cannot lose you some games. And that is literally what this team is striving to do in Atlanta, and I hate it, because they literally take the top tight end in a draft, the top wide receiver in a draft, and now the top running back in a draft just to screw him over. However, Desmond Ritter is going as QB 29 right now, below Bryce Young, below CJ Stroud. Should show you what the even-minded fantasy football world thinks of this quarterback is that they don't believe in him. And I don't either. So if you end up with Desmond Ritter on your team in any kind of meaningful way, you are going to lose this season. You are going to lose, and you deserve the same fate as the Atlanta Falcons, and you're just going to be mediocre at best. Good luck donating your money to your league mates because Desmond Ritter is not the answer. That's all I have to say on the Atlanta Falcons.
I think Taylor Heineke's starting by week 7.
Oh, yeah,
I hope so. For the love of Pete, Taylor Heineke better be out there.
He's been like my favorite super flex dynasty. Just kind of throw a third out there and get Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, I don't dislike Heineke taking over this this quarterback, backfield. One fun fact about Ritter, because Billy harped on him so much, I want to give him just one positive note. He has never thrown an interception professionally.
Cool.
I can't tell if Billy's not frozen. He was just staring at me. All right, Joe, you want to take the running backs? Because I know you.
He's already old enough. Too old for Joe. 23.
Yeah, kick him to the curb, man. All right, running backs on this team. Let's start off with Cordero Patterson.
You're such a
He's like 65 years old now, and he's going to catch some footballs, and that's about it. And then we'll go to Tyler Algier, who everyone's like, hey, don't write off Tyler Algier yet. Write him off. He's done. We got Bijan Robinson in this house, who is going to absolutely get fed the rock. And I think we have a true bell cow right now in this backfield. I don't think they're going to bring him along slowly. I've read some stuff there. I think he's getting out there. He's getting 20, 25 touches a game, and he is going to absolutely excel in everything he touches. So get Bijan Robinson, one of the true workhorses, currently going as RB3 on Underdog because everyone on Underdog has a dynasty brain. But even without the dynasty brain, I think that's where he belongs.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here again.
Okay.
I don't like Bijan's ADP. I think there's 100 worlds where Bijan Robinson looks phenomenal and he matches up to that RB3, RB5 that he's going. But I think there's 200 worlds where he ends up as running back 10 and still has a great season, but doesn't give you the return on ADP. We've gotten this way. I think a lot of people are turning to dynasty football. So therefore Bijan and these other rookies coming in, and yes, he's phenomenal and he's going to be phenomenal. This year with no quarterback, next year, super big fan of him. In dynasty, super big fan of him. I think you're great. You had the first pick in the draft. You got Bijan Robinson. You're really happy. But drafting him 3rd overall or 6th overall when you could get Saquon Barkley or you could get, Jamar Chase. Like there are just people that you're clear cut. I mean, the first round is not the most important, but I think it's also pretty important. And you want your guy to.
I would not take Bijan Robinson over Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Eckler, or McCaffrey. I think that's about it. Everyone else, I'm all in.
He's currently 4th. Hold on. Sorry, that's standard. 5th, underneath Jefferson, Saquon, Eckler, and McCaffrey. Jonathan Taylor, Kelsey, Jamar Chase, Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill below him. I'm not saying I think it can work out fine. I just think that we, as dynasty brains, win a little too hard on this. Like if he slips to the back of the first round, I'm super excited to get him. But to get him in the middle first round, I feel like you can have a better strategy and not depend on a rookie on one of the worst teams in football.
I mean, are they the worst team in football?
I said one of
that part. I don't know. Yeah, Bijan, I think he's getting drafted right around. I mean, I don't think I would feel comfortable with him until like 6 or 7 in the first round, but I wouldn't mind it. Thing about these guys that, we haven't had a workhorse in a while. So the fact that we finally have one is just like, I guess, I don't know what happened to Joe there.
Joe's
just
fucking
gonna keep
mad.
rolling. He is so mad. Anyway, yeah. So I think Bijan Robinson I don't know, man. I don't 4th seems a little high. That seems a little like you're trying to be different. But taking him in like 7, 8, I'm probably going to do that in my drafts.
I'd be happy on the turnaround, like at 12, to get Bijan and Nick Chubb or something. You know what I mean? Like I'd be happy with getting 2 workhorse running backs. I get it. And honestly, the history precedes Bijan. Like honestly, Saquon, Zeke, trying to think of another one, but all had great rookie years. Like Bijan can have that. The thing about
like McCaffrey. His rookie season.
Jonathan Taylor had a pretty, I mean, his was like not phenomenal, but it was good. I mean, the rookie running backs can have great years. I think Zeke and Saquon were both in the top 5 their rookie year. But my thing is, they were on relatively talented teams when they came in. The Giants still weren't a train wreck yet at the moment. The Cowboys have always been a pretty decent team, even though I hate to say that. Bijan's coming in without a quarterback. That's the only thing that's like 5 seems too high for me. And I think it's going to history and success, but I'm a little scared about the ADP. I just want to warn people.
Saquon finished as RB1 in his rookie season, and then McCaffrey in his rookie season RB10. So that, I mean, you're right. Both of those, that's actually, I think, the range of outcomes for Bijan is either he could finish number 1, but he could also finish number 10.
And I mean, that's anyone in the top in your first round. So it's not, I'm not saying to not draft Bijan Robinson because I think he's going to be phenomenal. I just think next year when they actually have a quarterback, he's going to be worth that top 5 pick. So
I think they have enough weapons though that they at least have to respect whoever's under center for Atlanta. So I mean, Pitts and Drake, which you'll get into here in a second, but I like Bijan, and the football fan in me just knows like week 2, they're going to wear the throwbacks and he's going to look damn good in that throwback, and he's going to run for like 215, catch a touchdown, rush one in, and the train will be rolling at that point.
I mean, there's risk with every first round pick. I just wanted to put it out there. And I also think Cordell Patterson, even at the age of 32, is still going to be relevant in the pass game. Bijan probably won't have the hugest role in the pass game to start off with, but who knows? All right, we took enough time. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like derail the conversation, but Drake London actually had a pretty decent rookie year for the abysmal quarterback play that he had. I imagine it's going to get better, but honestly, you're looking at about the same. Not sure exactly where he's currently going in drafts right now, but I assume wide receiver 20-ish, 22. So good call. I like the value there. You never know. Maybe this team turns out to be good. Maybe they put Heineke in and it actually works. I don't have faith in Ritter. I think that's my biggest thing. Like Billy said, if you have Ritter on your team, you're probably going to lose. Maybe he's better. He's only played 4 games. We'll see. And then, of course, we got Kyle Pitts, fantasy football darling. Everyone loves Kyle Pitts. Pretty abysmal year last year, even before the injury, which I think was just a fake. He just didn't want to play because he looked bad. Rookie year was actually better than I expected. I lost the fireball bet there. But this man still only has 3 touchdowns at the height of 6'6". And yes, that's due to quarterback play a little bit. But at the same time,
he doubled his touchdowns from the previous year.
That's the optimist in you right there, Joe.
It is. It's a football fan in me.
Other than that, dude, I'm sorry. It's not Matt Collins, Scotty Miller, whatever else is on this team. It's not them. If you're drafting anyone on this team, it's Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. Those are the 3 stars that they've drafted in 3 consecutive years. It's pretty exciting. They're great players, but I would have loved to see all 3 of them on different teams at this point in their career. That's it.
I hate them.
I
hate them.
If you want Kyle Pitts in Dynasty, though, this is the time to get him because people are so off of Kyle Pitts.
I sold him last year, and it's probably a mistake, but I honestly I was done with it. I drafted him in a Dynasty League because I thought I needed to make things right because I talked so much shit on him. And he still looked like shit, and I traded him.
The biggest issue that this team faces is that they're gonna be good, like too good to be bad. Like unless they trade down, like the Panthers did with the Bears. I don't know how they're going to get up there to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks in next year's draft. And so, like, what are you going to do again? We're just going to further kick it down the road. Like, I don't understand what the plan is. They got to get a new head coach in there. They need probably to get a new GM, to be honest, because I don't know if anybody else has noticed this team is keeps turning into the Bears. Like, I don't know why they keep adding former Bears to this team, but like, every time I turn around, Atlanta's adding somebody else from the Bears, like in the
Ryan
past.
Pace.
Well, and just like the Cordell Patterson thing, like it didn't make any sense. And I guess that's just what
It
they're
worked
planning to
though.
do.
It worked for some reason.
It's
I
the
don't
Ryan Pace thing for me. He's
This team needs some management changes. I think the three of those guys though, Pitts, London, and Robinson are all gonna be great for years to come. I think if you have in Dynasty, you hold for now. Do not sell at their low. Even London is probably actually pretty decent value right now if you wanted to trade him, but I don't think it's time. I think you see what happens next year with the quarterback. I think you roll the dice here. Bijan's going to be good no matter what. I think that will change the game a little bit, but you still need a good quarterback, and they do not have it right now. I mean, it might be Heineke, but there's got to be some quarterback out there in free agency next year that they need to buy like immediately. So just to touch on the defense, Calais Campbell playing his 50th season at defensive end now on the Falcons. Still good value. Also went and got Bud Dupree. They're building this defense. Grady Jarrett's still there, and David Onyemata. This is a pretty phenomenal defensive line. And then linebackers kind of a giant hole right now. Troy Anderson and Caden Ellis are the inside linebackers, and we're not really sure what to make of that. I know Joe likes Michael Walker. I just feel like that seems like a Joe like right there. But honestly, the linebacker position's wide open. All three of those guys have been pretty much swooped up in all dynasty leagues. But if you're playing in a redraft IDP league, or if they're somehow still on the free agency wire, grab them because you never know who's going to make the tackles on this team. And then Richie Grant and Jesse Bates for the safeties are all pretty phenomenal safeties as well. And then they get Jeff Okudah from Detroit to shore up the cornerbacks. The defense actually looks a lot better this year.
Yeah.
The only hole on this team, the big hole, is quarterback. And I can't not believe they didn't address it over last year. But maybe Ritter's good. Yeah. What if Ritter is good?
On paper,
He's
this
not,
defense is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the, like, if you play in full defense leagues, I feel like this is going to be a good team to pick up because I think they are going to be pretty good. As far as like the IDP part of it goes, I think it's going to be a different guy every week. So I don't know if there's anybody you're going to be able to count on. Maybe Troy Anderson takes the leap. Maybe Caden Ellis takes the leap. I mean, Jesse Bates has always been a guy in Cincinnati that everyone's liked, but, don't really necessarily know what you're getting. But full defense, good stuff. All right.
This team on paper looks good. We just, bad. What's
over under for the Atlanta Falcons is 8.5. They are tied with the Saints.
All right. So Panthers, Packers, Lions, Jaguars, Texans, Commanders, the old name, Buccaneers, Titans, Vikings, Cardinals, New Saints, Jets, Buccaneers, Panthers, Colts, Bears, Saints.
You said 8.5?
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? The under, smashing it. There's no way.
I actually thought it was not a bad schedule. Any schedule they have Arizona under, I'm automatically like, well, that's a freebie. So
it's like a free space and bingo.
It literally is. It's like on the bingo card. It's literally, oh, you have the Cardinals? Oh, well, let's just go ahead and mark that one out.
I understand what the Falcons did in the draft the last 3 years is pretty ridiculous and amazing at the same time, getting pretty much the best offensive weapon. There's no fucking way they go positive this year with Desmond Ridder and Heineke under center.
I'm going over. This seems like a team that goes 10 and
all right.
8.
Fireball bet
10 and 6, and just to piss me off. Sure, because that means, you know what? If I lose that bet, that means they did go under, and I'm like, hell yeah, thank God. Like
right.
that would make me happy if they go under. So yeah, sure, I'll do an emotional fireball bet.
I'm doing some mental gymnastics right now.
I see that.
Yeah. Man, let me get the over.
Wow. You guys are believers in the Falcons.
Or they're really the believers in this team.
I didn't imagine this. I thought 8.5 was way too high. I think 6.5 would have been great because I think 7 wins is manageable. But I don't think they go positive. That's them going.
The
positive.
problem is I hate them. So they're definitely going to do well. Like they're going to do it well just to piss me off. And Bijan is a good enough running back to carry this team on his back like Saquon Barkley does. And I think Desmond Ridder could be Daniel Jones light. Sure, why not? They have a better receiver and better tight end than the Giants have, so
I
why
only
not?
see 4 games on this schedule where I'm like, they're losing that one. Everything else is
A coin flip.
yeah.
This is a disaster. So I mean, based on this, I don't even know who Josh has winning this division. Me and Joe clearly have Atlanta, I think, winning though.
Let me just go ahead and say that the Giants had went 5-11 in Bijan's rookie season when he was number 1 in the league, and they still had Odell Beckham and Evan.
That's fair. I mean, they're better now than that Giants team was.
I'm just saying.
Was Daniel Jones on that team?
Nope, Eli Manning still threw for 4,000 yards. Yeah, no, so definitely under.
Not a 1-to-1.
It's the Saints winning the division.
I got the Saints too.
I would love to see. I don't know, Josh. Your unders make this not make sense. So you think that the New Orleans Saints are going to win this division by going like 8-9? I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think any of these teams are good. I think the Saints could go 9-8. I was really in between that 8-9 and 9-8. I could see them going over that because their schedule is pretty easy. I do not see the Falcons getting 8 wins.
Well, going over that schedule, like both of those, Atlanta and New Orleans got a super easy schedule, while Tampa and the Panthers didn't, and I don't.
Which
really
is
know
super
why.
brutal. Yeah, I don't like that either.
Not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be the bad teams get the easy schedules to make them better, and the good teams supposed to get hard schedules. That's how it's supposed to work, but not how it worked. I guess Tampa did win this division last year. I'm forgetting that, but that did happen.
Yeah.
So
well, they also have Brady on their team, but honestly, I think Tampa's the underdog to be second and or first if the Saints falter.
Yeah, there's no confidence in any of these teams.
Yeah,
all.
No, definitely not. The only confidence I have is that the Falcons will not get 9 wins.
In my professional advice, Possums, I would not put any money on this division. 0.
Unless you're betting on unders.
Yeah. So this is the worst division, right?
I think so.
We talked to AFC South, but they at least have the Jaguars, which we think is a good team. This team does not have a redemption team. Like, there is no redeeming quality to this.
I think the Saints could get 10 wins. I mean, I don't think they will, but I think that like, let's say all the things go correctly. Alvin Kamara serves his 4-game suspension, 6-game suspension, comes back, looks good. We get Kendry Miller behind him, Jamal Williams, all operating well, not for fantasy sake, but just for football sake. And Derek Carr gets Michael Thomas and Olave. Sure, that team could be amazing.
Yeah. I do like it. The AFC South was far more exciting than this is. This is all these teams are in a transitive year, except for really the Saints, which I guess they kind of are. But at least you got Richardson, who's exciting. You got Stroud, who's exciting with the AFC South. But,
yeah, those are 2 rookie quarterbacks taking over. This one, I guess technically Ritter, you can basically count him as a rookie still. So I mean, it's similar at the very least, but they don't have the Jaguars.
I just can't wait to see Bijan in that throwback uniform.
Let's just say whoever wins this, there's only going to be 1 team in the playoffs from this division. There's no wild cards.
Definitely.
Not even close.
Definitely think you're right about that.